Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to Trailblazers Podcast, where we get the special privilege of hosting Elizabeth Fonvergne, CEO at Advanced Engineering and Consultant. Elizabeth, welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to be here.
Of course, we're happy to have you. Now, Elizabeth, for those of us who don't know, could you tell us a little about yourself, and could you share a bit about your personal journey and what ultimately led you to your current company?
Oh my goodness. Well, I actually started out on the other side of this business, in the mortgage banking side, doing underwriting and loan funding for people buying homes. And when, for personal reasons, I decided to leave that company, there was a break, and I just wasn't sure what I was going to do. But there happened to be an open position at a civil engineering company in their accounting department. So I applied, and I started out in accounting, and just through a whole bunch of time learning different things about the company, I ended up on the other side in production, learning planning, agency processing, which kind of fell into my degrees, which I have a bachelor's in business management, I have a master's in legal studies, and I have an executive certificate. I'm halfway to my doctorate in public policy. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. And then after 28 years, my boss there decided it was time to retire, close the company. I mean, he was in his 70s. And so myself and a couple other people one other person that I worked with at the company and another person we worked with in the industry, we decided that we still like doing what we were doing. So we were willing to pick up JSA's book of work and continue with for their clients. And so we were introduced by our boss to reintroduced as a new company, as Advanced Engineering, but that we were taking over for JSA. So there would be a continuity of services, employees, people that knew their projects, so they would feel comfortable moving forward with us. And that was in 2009, and here we are.
Wow, that's quite a journey. That's very impressive. I mean, in that time, I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes in the industry. And maybe what are your thoughts on encouraging more girls and women to enter this kind of field of work, which has traditionally haven't been considered women's areas?
It's been traditionally a male dominated field, but especially in this current generation, with STEM academics literally starting in the middle schools, more girls are learning that they have brains and that they can do things like science and engineering and technology. But I will tell you, back in 2012, I was asked to be the keynote speaker at the Cal State Los Angeles Technology and Engineering Convocation to speak on exactly that subject. What it was like to be a woman in a traditionally male-dominated world, how I felt my place was, and, to speak to the girls in the room who were literally pretty much trailblazers in that. I mean, it's not that we haven't had women in the industry. I mean, we do have we do have women engineers, women surveyors who are who are in their 60s and 70s, but they were very few and far between up until then. And I had the opportunity to be escorted around by a very bright young lady who was actually told me afterwards that she was very moved by what I said, and it wasn't that much longer after she graduated, I ran into her at the city of Los Angeles. She got her EIT, and today she's now a licensed engineer, but she works for the City of Los Angeles Department of Public Works. We had an intern come through our office who is now working at the City of Santa Clarita in their geotechnical department. Another bright young lady, she from CSUN. So it's becoming they're becoming greater numbers. Like I said, especially since STEM, in the middle schools and in the high schools, and it's wonderful to see. If I can step back a minute to the past, I know you asked about that. When I was coming up, I got into this industry in 1983. And like I said, I started in accounting, which was more traditional for women. And, I obviously met other employees, and, most of the women were in the secretarial pool, but we did have a few female draftspersons. They weren't design engineers. They didn't have engineering degrees, but they were doing the technical drafting. And then I just happened to need to answer a very technical question that came through accounting with regards to a bill. If I can just say that after a probably about 15-minute dissertation by the person on the other end of the phone, the bottom line question was he thought he was being double billed. So now I've got to take all of these notes from what he told me, about all this technical stuff that went on, and go and find out who in the technical department would be responsible for letting me know if I need to credit this bill or not. And so while I was, searching it down, I spoke with several individuals, and I got very technical answers, which, you then have to digest. And then by the time I got to the actual person who could tell me what actually happened, he took about half an hour and literally explained to me about engineering, civil engineering, and what we actually did, and what actually happened. And the more I talked to people on that side of the hallway, the more I thought, I'm wasting my time and talents just sitting in accounting, processing invoices and bank deposits. So when the opportunity arose, I applied for a position in operations doing contract administration. And then I was asked to, because I know this is going to sound a little sexist, but you know what? It got me in the door. Because the PMA on the client side of the project was a woman, I was asked by our vice president of operations, who handled our survey department, to be the PMA on our side. So, I'm assuming, well, I'm not assuming, I was told, the reason was that because she's female, they wanted to show that, because it was a big national company. So they wanted to show that they were, so, and that was kind of the stepping stone for everything else and every place else, and how I ended up actually learning land planning and processing and the government side of things. And by the time I was done, I was the director of planning at the company by the time the company retired. And so I came over here. We gave ourselves titles, but you have to for the corporation to run the corporation, but. In actuality, what I am doing here is the same thing I did there: contract administration and director of planning. It was kind of weird at first, because you go to these meetings and you're in a room full of men, and they look at you like, okay, what are you doing? And my mentor told me, as a woman, and he says, I'm not being sexist. It's just the reality of the way things are in this industry. You need to play the game. You need to be a little bit helpless, but you need to be smart enough to make sure that they're not just handing you a line of bull, that you're getting the answers that you need. And I mean, I wasn't one to wear 5-inch stilettos. I liked, I liked the classic pump, the business style. I wasn't one to wear mini skirts or skirts with, slits up to my hip, or shirts cut down to my navel. But I did see a lot of, several processors, and they do that, and the guys all run to the counter and they drool as they're helping them. And it's like, but that wasn't me. I dress like a business person, and I let my intelligence speak for itself. Although I will say that LA County Survey, my hats got me in the door. I love to wear hats, and the first time I walked in, I was wearing a suit and I was wearing a hat, and this gentleman behind the counter went, "Oh my gosh, I love a woman in hats. Hats are such a lost art." Well, it turns out that his mother had been a hat designer. And so as long as I wore a hat every time I went to the county survey, I got all the help I needed. I didn't need to, but I was, again, I was smart. I wasn't, didn't need to be, anything else but myself.
Yeah, you were playing the game, like you said. Kind of.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Right.
But I guess. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're right. But you just learn. You just learn, like I said. But you can't play the damsel in distress, because then they don't respect you. And that was the thing that I got, and that was the reason that I mean, I went to planning commission hearings, I went to city council hearings, I would attend staff meetings, and you speak to the code, you speak to the law, you speak to the project, you speak to the truth, and they listen to you. There's no reason to be any other way. But it was we as women, we've remolded ourselves. We aren't just, I mean, they showed us during World War II that we were more than just homemakers, but the rest of the world had to catch up. And it started in the late 20th century, but in the 21st century, we are no longer anomalies.
Absolutely. And what do you think is the most important part for young women to understand and to be exposed to not allow these limiting beliefs to influence their lives?
Just be yourself, get the education that you want, and there are still some let's say chauvinistic attitudes out there, but they've pretty much retired. I'm finding that there is more acceptance, and as long, again, they want intelligence. They don't want cute, and that's part of the problem that I see with this generation that's coming out of high school right now. They, even in their early 20s, in their college careers, they're still doing the cutesy, let me get my selfie with the tongue sticking out, or the cute little hand gestures, or the TikToks, and they have to remember, and we've seen lots of examples, the internet is forever now. That, you might make a small mistake in high school or college, and someone out there is going to find it. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's not okay to do the fun selfies with your friends and whatever, just kind of, but don't let those things overshadow your intelligence. Show them how smart you are, and they will see beyond the fact that you're a girl.
I guess shifting gears and going back a few pages, do you mind telling us a little about your company and kind of the main clients and main projects you specialize in?
Sure. We are a full-service consulting civil engineering company, so we do everything from feasibility studies, project entitlement, land planning, through construction survey, final monumentation. So in the plan, in the planning realm, like I said, feasibility studies, entitlement research, and actually doing entitlement work, tentative maps, tentative maps, lot line adjustments, those kind of things. And then the civil design portions, once projects get approved, or, we even do the, the single lot for the, for people who, like buy a lot, want to build their dream home or a spec home or whatever. The survey, topo boundary, the topo boundary construction survey, and then in between you've got the civil design, the sewer water, storm drain, street improvements, those kind of civil plans. And then when it goes to construction, we'll do all of the construction survey from the rough grading all the way through the monumentation and the height certifications. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No worries.
And most of our clients, we do, like I said, we do everything from big builders who are doing multi-home tracts all the way down to the individual who's got a single lot that he wants to build. People that want to try, in California, we've got this new SB9 subdivision, which now allows people to take a residential lot of any size and subdivide it into 2 lots and be able to build 2 houses and 2 ADUs. So on a lot that used to, your $5,000 square foot lot that used to be designed for 1 home can now hold 4. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I think that it's a little intense for what we call an R1 area. It would be better in the residential estate areas where your lots are, half an acre or better.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. And, we help our clients comply with code, both state and local, and, get their projects done.
Absolutely. And how do you differentiate your company from other civil engineering and survey firms in your region? And what do you believe is your strongest competitive advantage?
Oh, well, we are water resource specialists. That is, we do everything else well, but we have a state qualified QSD, which means that he is qualified by the state to prepare water resource plans, like stormwater pollution prevention plans and things like that have to be processed through the State Water Resources Control Board. And he has a PhD in civil, but and his concentration was weather and water. He spent 2 years over in Israel as the chief scientific officer at Technion, working on the Glawa Jordan River project, so trying to bring water to the desert. And for people who don't realize it, Southern California really is a desert. And we do not have unlimited water resources. We've seen that over the years. So that is for us an advantage, but also the fact that both David and I have spent our careers creating relationships with the agencies. And so we are both well respected at the agencies that we work with. So we don't abuse our plan checkers. We don't abuse stepping over them. We try. We've always tried to resolve things with them, where a lot of people get very reactive, and if they don't get an answer in 3 seconds, they're going to the supervisor. So those I think are where we are strong and where we differentiate. Plus, we have a concern. We always care about our clients, and we have probably about 90% of our business is repeat business for repeat clients. In fact, I literally just had an architect call. He's working on a project, and he said, and the owner happens to be an engineer, and so she has, quote, her own contacts, and he said, that's fine, but if you don't mind, for the survey, please let me call David, Silverman, exactly as it were his exact words, because he does all my survey work and I trust him. So, and then right now where we are getting out and differentiating is with the fires. We all understand fire and being a fire victim. I live in Woolsey, and so for people who are familiar with the Woolsey fire from 2018, we were evacuated, and that is a scary thing. When you have to leave your home and you can't get back, and you don't know if it's going to be there when you get back. We got lucky. The fire did come down to the edge of our property, but it was, the development was saved. It did not get inside, and our house was still there. My partner, on the other hand, David, lived in the Palisades Bowl. And so after the Palisades, he had enough time to get his cats. I mean, by the time they told him that they were evacuating, he was already at the office in Agoura, and now he had to go back to the Palisades to see if he could even get in to rescue his cats. And that was all he could rescue. And so he lost his home in the fire. So it was just he and his cats and his computer and his car. That's all that was left. So we understand what people are going through with the fire. We understand what's going on with a state that is bankrupt, and insurance companies that were pulling out right and left from the fire market and trying to rebuild on a dime and a shoestring. So he put out on the neighborhood that for the fire victims, Palisades, Malibu, Santa Monica, Altadena, all that we would be giving special discounted rates and expedited servicing to anybody affected by the fire that needed anything from their surveys to their civil design to their construction, anything that was within our area of expertise. We are doing a lot of work in Palisades, Malibu, Altadena, because of that, because we are empathetic, because we understand what they're going through. So, that's another way. We have empathy for we've always had empathy for our clients, and we try to create solutions rather than throwing our hands up and saying, well, that's the government. So.
Yeah, no, that's such a kind and generous thing to do. And it really shows that you do have that empathy and care for your clients. And then looking ahead, what role do you see technology playing in the future of your industry? And how is your company adapting to those changes or leveraging new tools, whether it's AI or some new softwares?
Well, when we worked for our previous company, they were the second company in the country to go on the latest design software, which was called MicroStation. It was not an easy software, but it was very powerful. It was Unix based rather than BASIC based, like most of the very simple CAD software. A lot of people stayed away from it because CAD is easy, but with MicroStation, we could do a lot more, and there were other companies out there like Parsons who recognized that, and they went on the software, and then they poached a lot of our employees that we put through the training, because then it's like they didn't have to train them themselves. And I mean, some of our employees, they were very honest. It's like, oh yeah, Parsons is getting this big job and we're going to go work for them. And they're going to double my salary. And it's like, but I'll stay if you can match it. It's like, well, the one thing that they didn't do that I thought was not smart was that when they sent these people to school and taught them this new technology, they didn't, they said, look, we're paying for this. And so, you'll be obligated to stay for 6 months or a year or whatever to repay the education. But my bosses didn't see, they didn't see the potential of what actually happened. And then it turned out that Parsons didn't get the job. Not the whole project. And some of the employees came back and said, can I have my job back? And it's like, no, as much as you wanted to say, well, yeah, sure. We trained you, we'll take you back. No, you just couldn't. It was a matter of principle. So we've stayed with the MicroStation through all the years. They, trying either right before or right after the century mark. I don't remember exactly because IT is not my specialty. That's actually David's. But they went to a PC based. So they went off Unix. So you could put it on Mac. You could put it on PC. And then they just recently updated, and we invested in the update, and it is even more powerful as a design tool. You can now actually geolocate in space, and you can come up with conceptual designs in some cases under an hour. Just to be conceptual, to give a client an idea of what they can do. You can and in half a day you can have multiple options. And I only see it getting better and more powerful. We also added a drone to our arsenal. David is now a certified pilot to fly drones, which also helps. I have to say that the drone technology and that helps, especially in hillside and wooded areas where, you used to have to either extrapolate or just say, hey, it was too dense. And unless you wanted to allow us to go out there with a machete and start cutting your plants down, we can't get to the back, 2 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet, whatever. The drone from up above can now literally get through, where did, no, I don't want to, there we go. Sorry. Fat fingers. You can literally cut through, it can get through, between the branches, and it can find the pockets, and actually get down to the ground, so that you can get those heavily wooded areas, or the steep hillside areas where, it used to take you half an hour, just to climb to the top of the hill to get that corner or that line, whatever. And like I said, I mean, where we jumped onto, the microstation, because it was, for they could see the advantages from the beginning. We did wait, on the drone technology, to watch its development, and, just make sure that, and it's replaced, for us, having to do very expensive, aerial flights, where you got to pay a guy in an airplane to go up and take those shots. Now you can do it. You can do it yourself with the drone over those same areas. So the advancements for our industry have been, incredible. And like I said, I only see them getting better. You know, people have different, interpretations of what exactly AI is. I mean, the use of, learning technology, like, okay, I see it in my cell phone, where, when I type, specific, when I type specific things, like in my text messages or my emails, when I do them off my phone, it makes suggestions. It's kind of learned to make suggestions based upon, keywords that I use. But, people talk about the artificial intelligence, like we're going to live in the world of iRobot.
Yeah.
And I mean, Isaac Asimov was way before his time. So was Gene Roddenberry, and, a couple other of those authors out there. But at least not in my lifetime, I don't see AI being that kind of intelligence. But I do see it being, something that is continually being refined to help in the everyday world. Computer programming, computer science, getting things done. I mean, yes, they're making robots, they're making automated cars. But they've been working on the automated car since a long time. They actually had a plan for a hydrogen engine all the way back in the 50s. So, for us, it's new technology, because we're just, or for certain people, this is new technology because they are just hearing about it. It's just becoming more mainstream. But, it's been developing for a long time, and, it's been used in our industry for quite some time. But like I said, I only see it getting better.
Absolutely everything, Jack. Just continuous innovation. There's a lot of smart people out there. And as we start to finish up our podcast, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience that we may have missed, along with any other exciting news you'd like to share?
Oh my goodness. Well, for, I mean, I think we've pretty much covered everything that we are, everything that we do. I will reiterate to any of the women and girls out there, that, it's never too late to use your brain. It's never too late to decide that you want a career, and, whatever it is that makes you happy. Like I said, I think, for us, it's just, living in California is in and of itself just an interesting place to be these days. Just there's a lot of controversy going on. There's not enough time to get into all of the politicalness of what's going on right now because of that Palisades fire. They're going to be litigating that for a very long time, and even though the government has made promises to streamline certain things, they're not streamlining everything. And so, we're still seeing delays in permitting, but for anybody in Southern California who was affected by the fire, look us up, reach out. And even if you weren't affected by the fire, you just have a project, we'll be
Where
happy
can
to sit
people
down
find
and
your
have a
work?
conversation.
Yeah, where can people find your work and stay updated on your company's projects and progress?
You can go to www.advanced.engineering. It's just our name, ADVANCED.engineering. There's no .com. We are currently, refining our website to keep up with current technology, but there is all the basic information about what we do, who we are. You can also find us in the Blue Book. We are listed both under engineering and survey in the Blue Book. And anybody who has any, direct questions or even a project, I'm always happy to give an initial free consultation or, look over. They can email me directly at Beth, B like boy, E, T like Thomas, H like Harry, at advanced.engineering.
Absolutely. Okay. That's fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. And with that, everyone, thank you for tuning in to the show. And thank you, Elizabeth, for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.